So you want to buy your first horse. Here's what you need to know. You need a lot of time, a lot of knowledge, but most importantly, a lot of money.
Together we'll hold back the sun in this moment forever young. Against the stream of time we'll run, baby. We'll hold back the sun.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today's one is part of my beginner series and it is a video I've been needing to film for so long. I've had so many requests for this video. I've also, over the years, as I've done meet and greets and things and met a lot of you guys, I've had a lot of questions from people being like, when is the right time to buy your first horse? And the thing is, I feel like everyone's life is very busy, and the thing is, there's never really a right time. But I thought in today's video I'd talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a horse owner, the responsibilities behind it, financially behind it as well, time commitments, and also a little bit about what knowledge and how much horse experience I would probably recommend before getting your first horse. Also, before we begin, I just want to say a little disclaimer. This is all my personal opinion. Take all of my opinions with a pinch of salt. Some people do different things. I'm going to be also talking a little bit about my horse experience of like horse ownership. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about my riding story as well in today's video. So if you already own a horse and you're like, as me, this video isn't very useful to me, you never know. There might be some interesting stories that I say along the way about my kind of equestrian journey. Before we begin, one of the most important things that I should say before we get into all of this is that to be an equestrian, you don't need to own your own horse. Some of the best riders I know don't actually own their own horses, including a lot of top riders. So a lot of the riders that you see at the Olympics, they don't actually own the horses that they ride. So there we go. That's something quite interesting. But also there are so many different ways that you can be an equestrian and be in contact with horses without owning them, because it is a big responsibility and also financially very expensive. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that first. So I actually started riding at my local riding school. I started having riding lessons. I actually asked for lessons from a very young age, and my parents always came up with excuses to be like, no. They either told me I was too short or too young, which, to be fair, at 3 years old, that is pretty young, and most stables probably would not have accepted me. But anyway, I was very, very lucky to start having riding lessons at the age of 5, and also part of like my horsey backstory is that none of my family are horsey. I am the only horsey one, so I've kind of dived them into this kind of equestrian journey and world. So I would say riding schools is a great place to learn to ride. I would recommend going to good riding schools. There are some dodgy ones out there, so please do your research. I'd recommend going to a British Horse Society approved riding school, because obviously all of the ponies there are approved and checked and make sure that welfare wise they're all good. Of course, if you're not in the UK and you don't have the British Horse Society, again, please do your research. And also I feel like today's video is going to be a little bit UK centric. Obviously in different countries and cultures there are different ways of owning, riding, that kind of thing, and also it's going to be very kind of English riding as well, because that's what we have over here in the UK. We don't do too much of the Western stuff. So again, lots of little bits and bobs to just take in information wise. But anyway, yeah, I started at the local riding school. When I was actually very, very young, they would basically, like, they would lead you into the woods on a pony. So I was just like sit there and they'd lead you around. And what was actually really good, I was very, very lucky to go to a very good riding school where when we were being led around in the woods, we would be talking about our position, we'd be talking about horse care. So as we were walking along, bear in mind I was 5 at the time, we would be like, okay, name something that you think horses eat, or name parts of the bridle, or name parts of the saddle. So from a very young age I was very lucky that I did a lot of stable management and learned a lot about horses that way. Of course you can learn about horses in many different ways. There are horse books that you can read, there are YouTube videos, go and watch the other beginner series of mine, woo, self-promotion. But also when you do take in horse information like that, make sure, because there's some horsey information out there on the internet that is not good. Some is good, some is bad. do your research. And also, of course, there's riding schools, there's friends or family members that are horsey that you can ask questions about, or riding instructors as well. So there are lots of different ways that you can learn about horses, horse management, what it takes to look after a horse. So I learned to ride at the local riding school. After I was in the kind of beginners leading group, I then went into the arena groups where I kind of learned how to ride off the lead rein. I would definitely recommend, before you even think about buying a horse, would be make sure this is a sport and this is something that you enjoy all year round. Of course, some climates are the same all year round. Over here in the UK, riding in the summer is very different to riding in the winter. So I would say get maybe a couple winters under your belt, because looking after horses in the winter, it is a challenge. It is wet, it is muddy, it is sometimes miserable. So that is also important to know. Also, horses can be very different depending on the time of year as well. So I know that my horses, they're a little bit more spicy, they're a little bit more high maintenance in the winter as well, and a little bit more, not challenging, I don't know if that's the right word, but they're easier to ride in the summer, I'd say. But again, all horses are different. That's also something to learn about and know too. So yes, I had lessons at the local riding school, and then I had my first loan pony. So again, before you buy your first horse, I would recommend either loaning or leasing a horse. I know in America a lot of people say lease, in the UK it's more loan, so I'm going to be saying loan in today's video, just to let you know that is the same thing. And also there are lots of different ways that you can loan or lease a pony. So at my the kind of good stepping stone that a lot of my friends did, and what I did for a little bit, was loaning a pony at the local riding school. So the way that my local riding school kind of worked was, if you loaned a pony there, you could ride it multiple times a week. Obviously each loaning contract is different depending with each person, so again it might be a little bit different for each person. So at mine, it meant that I had like first dibs or first pick for when it came to my lessons of riding that pony. I also got to go up on different days to like take it on hacks and do other bits and bobs. Of course, that I would say make sure you have a good riding school and a good instructor that can make sure that you're up to the standards of being able to loan a pony, because with that there was a little bit more responsibility of getting to look after it. But again, the pony was owned by the riding school. They did the majority of care, that kind of stuff. It just meant that I got to spend a little bit more time with said pony. My actual like first proper not that a riding school pony isn't a proper loan pony, but one where I had a bit more responsibility of looking after it, was actually, I was very lucky that growing up I kind of begged, borrowed and stole different ponies from different people before I got Mickey, my first pony. So my hairdresser, or my old hairdresser, basically I was her guinea pig child. I don't know if I'm going to recommend this because it's a little bit different, but I was the kid that basically rode all of the ponies that she bought before her grandkids did, to make sure that it was kid proof. Not all of them were kid proof, so again, be careful if you get offered a free ride on a horse, because sometimes there is a reason why they're offering you said ride for free. But I had so much fun doing that, so I had my first loan pony from them. As you guys know, I am in a very, very lucky position that I live out in the countryside. My parents have a little small holdings, so we were very lucky that after loaning and looking after that loan pony at their yard for a little bit, we then moved the pony to our yard for me to ride. So again, keeping a horse at your own place versus somewhere else, again, that is a big step. So we're going to be getting into that a little bit more when we talk about ownership, but with loaning, a lot of the time with a loan pony or horse, the owner is takes the responsibility for vet bills, farrier bills, making sure the horse's teeth are done, making sure that feed is stocked up. So again, that is down to the owner. So with the loaning, you just kind of turn up, groom, tack up, ride, do your thing with the pony on your set day. So one of my really, really good friends, she has her own horse, and then she also has a loan pony that she loans 3-4 times a week. So she has 2 that she rides. So, but she in her loaning contract, she basically does everything. So again, things can be very different. So I also, there's other options. You can share horses as well. So you could own one half, somebody else could own the other half. I have this joke, one of my friends, she owns half a horse, and she always jokes that she owns the bottom end because she does a lot of the mucking out in her half loan partnership. Anyway, so again, there are lots of different ways and things. So just make sure that when you are organising all of that kind of stuff, you do know what you're signing up for responsibility wise and financial wise, because some loan ponies, some people are like, yes, I don't have time, I want to keep my horse forever because I love it. I never want to sell it in case it gets passed around, but I don't have time to ride it anymore. Come and ride my pony. This often happens a lot with people who are teenagers that then go off to university and they don't want to sell their horse because they're going to be coming back to it maybe in 3 or 4 years once they're done with studying. But they have this really lovely pony that they don't want to sell, but of course wants it to be exercised and looked after and cared for. So one thing that I would say, if you are looking for a loan pony or to own a pony, or sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit with this, but always make sure you know why that horse isn't being ridden by somebody else or isn't being, I don't know, or is wanting to be sold, because sometimes it's not for a good reason. So look out for that. That could be, because it's a little bit wild, or it could be because of health problems, or so yes, look out for that. Sorry, we will get back onto that when we talk a little bit more about ownership, but at the moment we're talking about the world of loaning, which again, you can have loans where you just go and ride it every now and again, or ones where you basically look after it and care for it like it's your own horse, but you don't own it. So again, there's a whole different variety. So I would probably recommend, I would say at least, at the very, 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 very least, have lessons. And again, it depends how often you have the lessons. If you're only having lessons once a month, over a year, that's 12 rides? You're not probably going to know enough or be a confident enough rider to do everything. But if you're having lessons like once a week or twice a week or even more than that, you're obviously going to learn a lot more about horses and become a better rider quicker. So again, time is an important thing to think about too. I feel like there's one of those things that's very tricky. There's no wrong or right answer. Okay, so that is the world of, we haven't even got on to owning your own horse yet, but I just want to say that there are lots of different ways that you can do it. Also, if you are there are a lot of charity riding schools out there, so I would recommend, if you are eligible to go to those, have a look and check them out, because I am a patron for a charity riding school called Team Touch'em in Kent, and they are incredible. So yes, there are also some inner city riding schools. I'm trying to put the word out there and try and make the equestrian world more accessible, because I do understand that it is not, unfortunately, the most accessible sport. It is rather expensive, probably the most expensive sport out there, looking at things, but there are ways that you can do things without, which hopefully more places will do things like that, because they do incredible work. So I just want to put that out there as well. So there are lots of different ways that you can be included in horses. I've got a few friends that are busy working 9 to 5, that kind of thing. They don't ride anymore, but they still want horse contact, and they do a lot of volunteering. So also I would recommend, if you maybe like the care aspect of horses, don't want to own your own, and don't really want to ride, I'd recommend doing a lot of volunteering. So you can volunteer for like animal shelters or rescue places, like for example World Horse Welfare, where Duke's from. Even if, they're always looking for some help, if that's just somebody to come and like poopate the fields, that kind of thing. Also, there are charities like the Riding for the Disabled Association, which you can volunteer for and help with the ponies or leading, that kind of thing. So again, there are lots of different ways that you can be involved with horses without having to pay any money at all. So, but it does include free labour and work, but it's for a charity, so it's for really, really amazing causes. So I'd recommend doing that. I did a lot of that when I was a teenager over the summer holidays or summer vacation. I did something in the UK we have called the Young Equestrian Leaders Award. If you can do that, I'd really recommend doing it, because number one, you get to spend so much time with ponies, which is fab, and two, it's really helping these charities that do amazing things, and three, also it's really, this sounds really bad, but it is useful to have maybe for like job applications. It shows that you can be responsible and reliable. It's also good for university applications as well. I'm not sure if you get UCAS points for it or not, but it's just something, another little bow, string to your bow. There we go. That's the phrase. And also, it's a lot of fun, so would recommend. I have lots of fond memories of looking after ponies and doing that in my summer holidays. So yes, okay, now we're getting on to owning a horse. Now, I know I've said all the thing about, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here, but this is not, I just want to put it out there, this is not my way of owning horses. As you guys know, I'm very lucky that we have our horses at home, we look after them, we muck out them, we put them out in the fields in the morning, that kind of thing. I do have some help, I just need to put that out there, especially when I'm away. So thank you to my friends and family for looking after my babies while I'm away. But as you guys know, we do all the dirty work. But I'd say probably the most important thing when it comes to actually owning your own horse, when that is your responsibility, that is all down to you. Sounds bad, but unfortunately, the thing that lands on top is money. If you have a lot of money and you buy a horse, you can pay somebody to look after it, train it, ride it, muck it out, feed it, be responsible for care, all that kind of stuff. Like if you got dollar, somebody else can do that all for you, and you never even have to see the horse. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably not that person who is thinking, you're thinking, I want to buy a horse because I want to have that partnership with it and grow as a team and a connection, look after it and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to put it out there. It is possible, but you gotta have a lot of money, and that's probably not the route that you want to go down. Okay, so number 2 is time. So time and money, it's kind of a little bit like this. So in the UK, we have a thing called livery, which I don't know if that's a word that people use in different countries. Full livery is where your horse is kept at somebody else's barn or stables, and somebody does all the care for it. So that person turns it out in the field, mucks it out for you, feeds it in the morning, does all the stuff. Then there's also a different type of livery, which is called DIY, where you can keep it at a DIY yard. So it's not your yard. You don't. We use yard in the UK as a word for stables or barn. I know in America it's very barn. I don't know if it's different in different countries. Just putting that out there. So if you're like yard, that's like my backyard. No, yard is also another word in the UK that we use. But anyway, so I'll try and say stables because I feel like that everyone knows what I mean. So DIY is where you keep it at somebody else's stable, so you don't own the stable. You kind of rent it out, but you have to do all the kind of looking after. So you have to be the one that feeds it in the morning, you have to be the one that mucks out its stable, or who picks its field or paddock. So again, some places are different depending if they offer shavings or hay as part of the package. Some do, some don't. Obviously there are some places that are more expensive, so you get your yards that have like indoor arena, wash bay, full central heating, double glazed shabam. And then you have others which some of my friends, they have native ponies that can live out all year round, and they just have some sort of grazing paddock arrangement where literally their horses are in a field and that is it. So again, there is a wide variety that you can choose from depending on your budget and your time. So I would probably recommend having your horse, if you are a first time horse buyer, having it on full livery, just because then you're at a yard that has somebody that's looking after it. You can kind of learn, I was going to say learn a little bit more on the job, but it's a little bit less stressful. There is someone there to help you, especially, I would recommend the main thing I would say is find yourself a good horsey person. Because I was very lucky that I had my hairdresser that helped out and taught me how to do a lot of horsey things, as well as another friend and family member that actually looks after the horses while I'm on holidays. So yes, so we're very lucky that she's still about. But I would recommend, having a good trainer or instructor or knowledgeable horsey person to help you with your horse journey, because the thing with horses is you never know everything about horses. All horses are different. You could get I feel like every yard has this old wise, I was going to say wizard, but wizard of a human who just seems to know everything. But even they don't know everything. So there we go. You've got to think of, number 1, where are you going to keep the horse? And number 2, how much time do you have to care for it? Depending on if you choose full livery or DIY. Do you work a full-time job? Are you somebody who is in education still? Do you have a partner or a parent that can help you look after said horse when you're busy? So there's also that to think about too. If you're away for seeing family at Christmas or holidays or vacation or that kind of thing, do you have somebody that can look after the horse? So again, that is also something important to think about as well. Are you very, very lucky and live on a farm or have a little bit of land yourself that you can look after said horse on? If you guys listen to sorry, I feel like I'm being that like self-promotion YouTuber again, but if you listen to my podcast, Esme's Country Life, you will know that I am very good at jumping around and chatting about lots of different things and going off topic. So we've talked about money, we've talked about time. The third also important thing, kind of like the 3 pillars of owning a horse, is knowledge. Do you know how to care and look after a horse? Because when you buy any animal, number one, the most important thing you need to do is do your research. And also, when you take care of any animal, you need to make sure that you can give it the best life possible. So, for example, if it hurts itself out in the field, like Joey has done many times, do you know what to do? Do you know when to call a vet? Would you be able to tell if your horse was sick or poorly or something was wrong with it? Would you know how to groom it properly? Would you know how to feed it properly? Would you know how to load it into a horse box if there was an emergency and you needed to take it away somewhere to hospital? Sorry, that's I promise. Actually, I can't make that promise. Horses are very sickly and very accident-prone animals. So, again, with the money, make sure you have enough money for the vet bills, because they are expensive. Also, sorry, we're going back to money again. I know I'm going to be talking about money a lot in today's video, and money is a topic that people don't like to talk about. It's a little bit of a taboo subject, but with horses, I'm sorry, you're going to need some, because you also need to think about how much insurance is going to cost, or if you decide to insure it, or if you decide to self-insure. So that's another thing to think about as well. But yes, you need to make sure that you have the funds to look after it. Like, if your horse has an injury like Joey, do you have the funds there to make sure that that horse can get the surgery that it needs to be looked after? Or would it be better if somebody else owned that horse? Do you think somebody else can give that horse a better life than you could? So that's also something to think about when it comes to owning any animal. Sorry, back to knowledge. Back to money. Back to money again. Sorry, I'm gonna hold my little notes here because I don't want to forget anything. At the end of today's video, if I do forget anything, or if you have any horse owner tips, leave them in the comments, because I love the little community we have here on the channel. But yes, also location. How far away is the horse going to be kept from where you live? That is also something to think about. And also, driving to said location is going to cost you money as well. If that's petrol or electricity charge or whatever. Okay, so when it comes to things that cost, because we're going to go back to money again, I'm not going to do a cost breakdown, because this video hopefully will be on the internet for years to come, and we all know inflation is a lovely thing that is happening at the moment. So the prices that I would put down here will vary, so I'm not going to put any prices down. Do your own research. Also, I know that everyone lives in different areas. Even like in the UK, I know that things cost different depending on what area you live in, so that is also a good thing to know and look up. So these are the things that you would probably have to spend money on when it comes to owning a horse. So we have hay and feed, or haylage, so all the things that your horse will eat. That could also include supplements, depending on some horses need them. They can also be very expensive, so that is also something to think about. Any sort of medications that they might need as well, depending on what sort of horse you have. We also have vet bills. I would make sure that you have a big chunk of money set aside for that one. You never know. We have insurance. Again, some people decide to self-insure. Some people decide to pay insurance. Again, personal preference. We have tack and rugs. So that's also something to think about. Sometimes when you buy a horse, it includes like the saddle, the bridle, all the rugs, head collars, that kind of thing. Or sometimes it includes nothing. So Mickey, I think, was the only horse that included his tack. All of the other ones, I had to buy everything from scratch. So there we go. That could also be an added expense. If you decide to buy a horse box, trailer or float, this isn't always necessary. I have a lot of friends that have their own horse but don't have their own horse box or trailer, and if they do want to go somewhere with their horse, then they rent one or hire one out. But I would make sure that you at least have or know somebody at your yard that has some sort of horse transport that you could borrow in an emergency, because we had to use our horse box as an ambulance once to take Joey to hospital. So that is something to think about as well. Obviously, a horse box and trailer is also a big expense. That is going to be expensive. Lessons/competitions, I would recommend any person, whatever level you are, even my instructor Felicity, who is a 5-star eventer, she has lessons with somebody or training sessions, because again, you never know everything about horses, and sometimes it's just so useful to have somebody on the ground being like, oh, if you just do this like little adjustment or this little thing. So I would recommend trying to have lessons as much as you possibly can, not only to make you a better rider, but better horse person and all that kind of stuff. So that is also something to think about. Or there are some people that just like to be happy hackers, which also, fair enough, you do you. I am half a happy hacker. Casper is my happy hacker pony at the moment, so we're having lots of fun doing that. Also, if you want to competitions, you have to think about that as well. I don't compete anymore, so that's just like just in case, because horse people do like to spend money on it, but it's not personally my kind of vibe anymore. Oh my gosh, this microphone is getting beaten black and blue. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Farrier bills as well, so there's that as well. You're going to have a horse that's going to have higher expenses if it is shod, so horses have to be shod every 5 to 8 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, it depends on the horse. I found when Joey was younger, he had to be shod more regularly, because if not, he would like to try and take his shoes off when they got a little bit loose. So that is also something interesting. You might have you might have to budget in extra farrier bills in case your horse does accidentally lose a shoe, which we've all been there. If your horse does have shoes, if not, what is this unicorn that you own? So to be fair, touchwood, luckily Casper hasn't lost a shoe in years now, so maybe it is a young horse thing, now he's getting older. So yes, there's that. If your horse is barefoot, then brilliant, that is going to be a lot cheaper, a lot easier. Your horse won't have to have his or her shoes done or hooves done as regularly, but that's also, you've got to think about that. Horses also need to have their teeth done, either every year or every 6 months. It depends on the horse, some more regularly than others, especially if they're younger, they need to have them done more regularly. So that is also a little added yearly cost. There's also other things that you might need to buy for your horses, such as making sure their vaccinations are up to date, so them getting vaccinated, that is an added cost. Also them being wormed and having wormer, that is an added cost. There are lots of little added costs over, even just, buying your horse treats or buying more shampoo to wash it with or grooming products. There's lots of little added things that do add up. So there we go. So yeah, and then, at the bottom of my notes, sorry, I've got buying the horse is probably the cheapest thing that you will buy, because you might think, cool, I've just gone and blown, part of my savings on a horse, because I'd say horse prices are a little bit like cars. You can get ones for free from somebody very dodgy, that might not be great, or you can get ones that are multi-millions. So yes, again, I'd say horses are a little bit like cars. You can get ones that are cheaper, more expensive, but yes, the horse will probably be the cheapest thing that you buy, because everything else added on top is very expensive. Again, if you're a billionaire, you might be like, cool, really like this horse thing, I'm going to buy a whole horse yard, a whole horse property, a whole indoor arena, all that kind of stuff. Good for you. But most people, we do not have that. So there we go. Okay. Yes. And then going back to time, think about how many days a week will you go and see said horse? How many days a week do you have to exercise and ride said horse? And again, the thing that I keep saying is, can you give the horse the best quality life possible? Also, another little thought, depending on where you keep said horse, the horse needs to have friends. So if you are keeping it on your farm or on your small holding or your own land, which I know is not everyone has that. That is a very unusual, and you're in a very lucky position to have that, which I, again, was very lucky to have that. We had the donkey, so Mickey had his donkey friends. But anyway, make sure that your horse has a friend, because they are not supposed to live on their own. They need their herd, they need their friends. So that's another little thing. But yes, this video wasn't so much what you need to know. It was a little bit, this is what it's like to own a horse, because there are lots of other things that you do need to know knowledge wise before you get one, such as, would you be able to tell if a horse was colicking and what to do in that scenario? So yes, there is a lot to know, but again, I would say talk to a knowledgeable horsey person in your area who can help you talk about financial budget, how much it's going to cost. And again, as I said before, there are many different ways that you can be with horses without actually owning one. So there we go. That I feel like today's video has just been a big old brain dump of horse ownership information. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. If you have any more questions, please put them in the comments below. Hopefully I'll try and answer as many as I can. But again, please take all information that you gather on the internet, because at the end of the day, I am kind of a stranger on the internet. This is just my personal opinion. But yes, time, money, knowledge. They're the three things that you need. Please do your research. If you take on a horse, make sure you can give it the best life possible. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I do have some more beginner series videos on my channel if you want to learn more about horses. So I can put those, I'll do a little iCard, I'll do a little click through. So if you'd like to watch some of my beginner series videos, go and watch them. And anyway, thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!